Wednesday. We hope everyone's day is off to a magical start. Welcome to Disney on a Dime. Today, Eric and I want to stop in and share with you a few of the things that we feel would be great to do on those days you're not actually inside of the theme parks.
Yes.
Some great ideas for options to do, you know, outside of the parks.
And if you've been watching our channel, you know that one of the things we say, in order to keep your sanity in Orlando, especially during the crowded peak seasons, you have to find things to do outside of the traditional theme parks.
Yeah, you gotta have those off days away from the parks.
And so, you know, one key is staying at one of the hotels or resorts that have a lot of the amenities on site, great pools, great things to do. But also, in the resort areas, in the amusement park areas, in the Disney area, in the Universal area, they will have activities that aren't necessarily in the theme park, but are still great activities.
Oh yeah.
In this video series, today we're gonna stick to Disney activities. So they're Disney activities, but they're not in the 4 main theme parks or the 2 main water parks.
Okay.
So we're gonna focus on that. We'll do a video coming soon with Universal activities. We'll cover International Drive, which is a great strip in Orlando that has a lot of things to do.
Oh yes, great restaurants.
Downtown Orlando. We've actually had a lot of fun hanging out in downtown Orlando. There's a lot more in downtown Orlando than there used to be.
Oh yeah, it's really built up in that area. Really great parks, and also again, really great restaurants.
Yeah. And Legoland. They've started to build up around Legoland. So, like I said, in this video, we're going to show you things to do at Disney that are not in the theme parks. We're going to go to the Disney website and look at some things. And we'll also use TripAdvisor. We've been using TripAdvisor, so we'll use that to find
very interactive.
Yeah, and we'll make it interactive. You'll actually see us go onto the websites and do some research on these great activities.
All right.
Okay, guys, so a good place to start, you know, when we go to the Disney website, a lot of people will tend to come right here directly to the parks and tickets, which is a great place to look. But remember, on this video, guys, we're trying to think a little bit outside of the box and do things that are outside of the parks. As we've talked about on a lot of our other videos, part of the enjoyment of Disney, if you really want to enjoy Disney and really all that Orlando has to offer, there are probably going to be times when you have to get away from the theme parks. The theme parks are great, Universal's great, Disney's great, but they can be a little hectic. So what I would suggest, and remember in this video, we're talking about things to do in Orlando that are Disney related, but outside of Disney. There's a lot to do in Orlando. This video is specifically Disney activities, but Disney activities that are not in the parks, okay? So we're gonna do other videos where we talk about International Drive, things to do at International Drive, other theme parks that you might not have thought of, like Fun Spot and Legoland, and even things to do on the Universal campus. So where I'd recommend you start is right here. Go to the Disney site for Walt Disney World and look up for this link called Things to Do. Now, under the Things to Do link, you'll see a lot of different activities. Now, some of these are in the parks and it'll tell you, but a lot of these are outside of the parks and kind of in the different resort areas and other places that are outside of the park. So we'll start out, and they kind of break it up into different categories. So if we go to Things to Do, so if we go here, and the site's acting weird, you can start at sports and fitnesses, right? Or sports and recreation. So we start here, and this is a good place to start. And as we scroll down, you know, some kind of typical things, cabanas, campfires, and mainly we're going to focus on, you know, things that we like to do. So, for example, the bike rentals. Wilderness Lodge and the Wilderness Campground area will let you rent a bike, and you don't have to be, for a lot of these, they're on resort properties, but you don't have to be a resort guest to use them. Disney is not turning down anybody's money. So if you drive up to a resort and say, hey, we want to rent a bike or a watercraft, trust me, they will let you on the resort property to do that.
And guys, what we like to do also after a big meal, the bike rentals, as Eric mentioned, are a really great way to get some exercise in. And if you're interested in staying over at Pop Century, also they do have new over there, Pop Century and Art of Animation, I believe it is. They also have the bike rentals, or the Surrey bike rentals.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. We really enjoy the Surrey bikes. So those are the 4-person bikes, and it's a good workout. Now, if you have a heart condition or are not in shape, don't do the 2 and 4-person bikes because it's a workout.
Yeah, get you a couple of people who are going to help with the pedaling.
Yeah, that's a great. I forgot about the Surrey bikes. We did that at Art of Animation and the Boardwalk area, as you said.
Yeah.
If you're a golfer, so there's golf, there's the real golf, which I golf a little bit. So Disney has some excellent golf courses, but I realize, a lot of people don't golf seriously. But even if you're not a serious golfer, they have a couple of great mini golf courses. So Fantasia Gardens is also near the boardwalk area. That's a good one. And then the one we've done, and this is in alphabetical order. So if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, Winter Summerland.
Oh gosh, this is so much fun. If you have the opportunity to be at Disney during the winter months, or let's say around Christmas, this is going to be just a fabulous picture spot. I see Erik scrolling through some of the pictures here, guys. The pictures that you will be able to send back home to your family. These are just going to be just priceless pictures that you'll have for many, many years to come.
And so, speaking of pictures, so the theme here is it's Christmas year round. So like a lot of miniature golf courses, it's got some great theming. Now, we're going to fall back on TripAdvisor, and I'm glad you mentioned pictures because, the site has some good information.
Yeah, let's see if we can pull up a few other pictures from somewhere else.
It's got the prices, so, obviously there's going to be a fee for this. This is near, this is on Disney property, so it's near a couple of the water parks. So if I want to look at pictures and reviews and see what people have said about this particular activity or this particular amenity, I'm gonna fall back on one of our favorites. If you watch our channel, we use TripAdvisor a lot.
Oh yeah.
TripAdvisor is not just for hotels. It is also for things to do and places to eat.
Yeah,
attractions and places to eat. So for example, if you watched any of our other videos, we'll put in like Orlando. So you can put in a city. And you can put in hotels. So you can tell it to find hotels, which is I think what people typically use TripAdvisor for.
Yeah.
But you can also use it to find things to do in a particular city.
Yeah, so let's look at some of these pictures.
Yeah. And as we look at the pictures, you also want to look at the rating. We do this for the hotels too. So the miniature golf, this is number 5 out of 26.
And Erik has mentioned before, when you do go to TripAdvisor and you pull up the pictures, you want to make sure you're looking at the traveler photos.
Yeah. Because they will have marketing pictures. So these are pictures that individuals have taken.
Look how cute, guys.
And we have so many great pictures and memories from this resort or for this golf course.
So as Erik scrolls through the pictures here, can you guys just imagine being here with your family on one of your non-park days around Christmas or even Thanksgiving, and just taking pictures here with your family? You're like your own little photographer here. You will not be able to take a bad photo here at this little miniature golf area.
All right. So while we're on TripAdvisor, I'm going to look up Cirque.
Now, what's Cirque?
So Cirque du Soleil is another great thing to do.
On your non-park days.
Yeah. And if you're not familiar with Cirque du Soleil is I wouldn't call it an adult circus. It's a sophisticated circus based out of French Canada. It's a French-Canadian circus. A lot of great acrobatics. It's mainly in Vegas. There are like probably a dozen Cirque du Soleil shows in Vegas, but this is one that's in Orlando permanently.
Yeah, we've had an opportunity to see the ones in Vegas and also La Nuba here or in Orlando. I think another one of the unique features about the Cirque shows is I want to say there are no animals involved.
No, it's all acrobats and people, and I actually think this is going away soon, so catch it this year before it goes away.
Now, is that going to be Cirque altogether or
no,
just
in
La Nuba?
In Orlando. Yeah,
okay.
The La Nuba show in Orlando. And every Cirque show is unique, so they all have themes and titles. So this one in Orlando is called La Nuba. It's actually highly ranked. So out of 421 things to do in Orlando, people have ranked it as number 6.
And guys, if you are able to get one of the seats closer to the stage, it's very interactive also.
Yeah. Now, obviously, all of these attractions, the miniature golf, Cirque du Soleil, they're going to be a separate price and a separate fee. But what you got to think about is, if I know the parks are going to be crowded, if I'm going during peak season, maybe I sacrifice to save a little money by missing a park day and going to something like Cirque du Soleil or the miniature golf. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at, and we're going to go back to, this falls back under sports and recreation, and we're actually going to go back to the Disney site. Motorized boat rentals.
Oh, wow. Yeah, guys. So, quick story. Chase was, I want to say, maybe about 1.5 or so, somewhere around there. And we went over to Eric, and I think you know where I'm going with this story.
Don't tell this story.
What resort were we at?
Coronado Springs.
We were at Coronado Springs, and at that time, I'm not quite sure if they still do the boat rentals over at Coronado Springs, but at that time, they actually were doing the boat rentals. And for those of you who don't know, Chase is actually 14 now, but I want to say he was almost 2, and we decided to rent the boat. This again was one of our non-park days. It was a beautiful, gorgeous afternoon, and the only thing, guys, that we had to do, or shall I say our captain Eric had to do, was stay on the lake. Somehow we ran aground.
Barely. I mean, it's not like we were up, but yeah, I ran aground.
We had to get assistance, guys. I was so embarrassed, Eric.
So the boat rentals, if you come here to the motorized boat rentals under things to do, it's at a few different resorts. So these are all the marina locations. As you mentioned, and I don't see Coronado Springs on here, so they don't do it at Coronado Springs on here anymore. But we've done it at Contemporary. We've rented boats there. We've rented boats at Polynesian. I think all the resorts on the Seven Seas Lagoon rent boats. And just about all of these are on the Seven Seas Lagoon. Beach Club and Beach Club Villas are in another area, but they also have a lake where you can rent boats.
And guys, the prices are extremely reasonable. So don't see the boats on the lake and think, oh my gosh, you have to be a millionaire to do that. You absolutely do not.
Yeah. And they have different sizes. So for example, we've always rented the Sea Racers. They're basically like two-man. They're not quite as fast as jet skis, but you can fit. They're really small and sleek. You can fit 2 people on them. And it's $32 for half an hour. But, you know, again, if the park is crowded and you compare that to the price of a park ticket, it's reasonable. The boat that I ran aground was a Boston Whaler, so that was a bigger boat. I believe that's the boat. Oh, I didn't mean to zoom in there. That they show on this picture. So this is the boat that I ran aground.
So guys, take a look at that. If Eric can go back to the price of it real quick, you can. It holds up to 6 guests, $45 an hour.
Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Especially if you're splitting that amongst a larger.
And you can, let's say, you could take your lunch or dinner or whatever time of day that you're, actually renting the boat. You guys could actually have lunch or dinner out on the lake.
Yeah. And you don't require reservations generally. And I don't see a lot of people using these. I've never seen them with a lack of boats. So it's basically just walk up and rent a boat. Same thing with the bikes. There's never, I've never seen them sold out.
No.
I think it's just one of those things people don't take advantage of a lot. And just as an example, I'm going to tell another story.
What?
We were at Disney literally on Christmas Day.
Oh, the jet skis.
Yeah, and this was about 3 years ago. And literally December 25th, we were going over to Polynesian to rent boats, to rent the Sea Racers. And because it was Christmas Day, traffic was probably backed up, 3 miles outside of Magic Kingdom?
It was pretty bad.
And we're sitting here saying, we're going to rent boats. We're not going to have to deal with any crowds, but all these people are crowding into Magic Kingdom. Yeah, they should be with us and just go rent a boat, go do something else.
Yeah. Now, Eric, let me ask you this. Now, the Sea Racers, are the Sea Racers categorized as the same thing as the jet skis? Now, I remember one year we
did
rented
rent
the jet skis over at Contemporary.
That is a good question. I think
down there.
Well, if we go back to sports and recreation, there's another category. So you can rent actual jet skis. And I think that is some of this is Sammy Duval.
Yeah,
so there's a whole other. Yeah, if you go to Contemporary, there's a whole other class. The Contemporary Resort has a whole other class of kind of more intense water sports where you can actually rent like a full jet ski.
Yeah.
Or do parasailing or tubing.
And so Eric and Chase were on one jet ski. I had a jet ski, and then we actually had a guide who escorted us around the lagoon and kind of stopped and pointed out places of interest on the lagoon and things like that. It was a very, very, very lovely day out on the water.
Yeah. And you can see here, you can either call for reservations, right? Or you could I could click here and we could book it on the site. So a lot of things on this particular list. Now this whole list is all kind of more sports and recreational. I can actually change this, and we can now do...
Eric, really quickly, though, did you have an opportunity to mention the fact that you can also do horseback riding?
I believe
we did that also when Chase was much younger.
Yeah, that's coming up. Let me go to... Let me see. It might be on here. Let me scroll down. Here he is. Well, these are horse-drawn excursions. So there's a lot of equestrian activities. At Wilderness Lodge, you can actually rent. Let's just do a search. So that's horse-drawn, horse.
And you know, guys, from year to year, things do kind of change up a bit. But just check. These are just some ideas that we're putting out there, of things that we have actually done ourselves, and that we really think you guys would find interesting also.
So let's try another category. Let me go to entertainment. And again, as you pull up these lists, some of these are in resorts, but a lot of them are not. So for example, in Disney Springs, go see a movie. You've got the AMC movies at Disney Springs, and look, we.
What's one of the special, unique features about the AMC movies at Disney Springs?
I believe that is you eat while you watch the movie.
Yeah, it's like you're like at a restaurant, but the big screen is there. We also have one of those similar to that here in Atlanta. Gosh, it escapes me now. What's
Cinebistro.
Yeah, Cinebistro.
So it's a fork and screen.
Okay.
So you can, as you watch the movie, you can eat like a full meal. So they do have a lot of kind of equestrian activities. The one that we've done is the pony rides. Basically, for your little ones, this can kind of be their first experience of riding a pony or a horse. This one is great for preschoolers and small children. That's one that Chase. How old was Chase when he did that?
Oh, how old was Chase? Maybe about 4 or 5 or so, I want to say. I do remember that was the year he deleted all the pictures off the camera.
Yeah, that's another funny story. I let him play with our digital camera, and he literally deleted like every picture we had taken in the vacation.
Oh, gosh.
And for the big kids that are also interested in equestrian activities, you can also just enjoy the Tri-Circle D Ranch. So they have a full working ranch over at Fort Wilderness and the Wilderness Lodge. And that whole area, that whole Fort Wilderness campsite and Wilderness Lodge is a great area if you're kind of interested in kind of the more outdoorsy, back to the wilderness activities around Disney.
Absolutely. Yeah. You really get immersed in the atmosphere and everything that's going on over in that particular area of Disney.
And another thing that they've got over there, and this is something that to keep in mind for all the resorts, right? So at the Wilderness campsites, they have the Hoop-De-Doo Review, which is basically a Wild West musical show.
We had so much fun that particular night that we went over to see the show. The food is amazing. You get buckets of chicken, buckets of corn, buckets of yummy cornbread. It was so nice, guys.
And something to keep in mind, this is just an example, one example of a dining venue at a resort. So one of the things you can do is resort hopping. And that can be just to hang out at the resort. So you can pick a restaurant. Hey, I want to eat at a restaurant at this particular resort because it's really popular.
And I think, too, the Hoop-De-Doo Review would be a great form of entertainment, especially if you are traveling with not only your immediate family, let's say your husband, your spouse, and your kids, but also if your mother, the grandparents, and the aunts and uncles are traveling with you, and they're a little bit older. I really think that they would enjoy a little bit of the nostalgia of the Hoop-De-Doo Review. Great
point. So, a few things to keep in mind. We've got a whole video on the Disney dining plan, and you'll notice here that this is, you can eat here depending on the dining plan that you have. This is, again, just a restaurant. And, look for restaurants that are interesting, that are at the Disney resorts, and kind of use it as an excuse to resort hop, to go see some of the different resorts and what they have to offer.
And really quickly, before we move on from the Hoop-De-Doo Review, just be prepared to participate in the show if you're sitting a little bit closer to the stage. They do encourage audience participation, but it's all fun.
And while we're on the subject of resort hopping, so again, this particular restaurant is at the campsites at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort. Another great place to resort hop and another great resort to go see is Disney's Boardwalk.
This is your favorite.
My favorite, our favorite.
Yeah.
So the Disney Boardwalk area, if you're not familiar with it, it is basically a lake area that is surrounded by 4 resorts. Actually 5. Boardwalk, Beach Club, Yacht and Beach Club, I guess that's one resort, the Swan and the Dolphin.
Yeah.
They're all beautiful resorts, and then there's a Boardwalk lake area in the middle of the resort.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the pictures. Look how pretty.
So you walk in, it's got a beautiful entrance, beautiful landscaping. So here is the marina where you can rent the boats.
Yeah.
Right, so there's
you
the marina
can also
area.
rent bicycles over there, too.
You can see some of the boats. So these are people that have rented boats. They're out on the water. There are shops and nightclubs along the boardwalk. So it's almost a very scaled down version of Disney Springs.
Yeah.
Not near as big, it's a lot more laid back. But a great place to resort hop. It's actually adjacent to, or you can walk from the boardwalk to either Epcot or Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Gorgeous at night. Look at the
look
night
how
view.
pretty. And so speaking of nighttime, look at that view, guys. And so again, going back to, just taking a day off from the parks and just doing a little resort hopping, this would be a great a great place to come over and just spend the day with your family. Look at that couple right there.
Nice romantic evening.
Watching the sunset. And so just sitting and taking the day from the parks, there are restaurants on the boardwalk. You have the ESPN zone. They have a really new, just very popular ice cream shop. You can get burgers and pizza. At nighttime, your entertainers come out. You have jugglers and caricature artists. You can just really go out and enjoy the evening. And an added bonus is because Epcot is just a rock's throw from the boardwalk, you are able to see the fireworks at night.
Yeah.
So if you didn't really want to be in the parks on this particular day, you could wait until the fireworks started and you could actually watch the fireworks from boardwalk.
So this is a good picture of the boardwalk area. So all these are kind of shops that are along the boardwalk that you can hang out at. Now, what's funny about this picture, you can kind of see, and you got to go to TripAdvisor to figure out what you like, because not everything is for everybody. I guess this person didn't like it, so they gave it 2 out of 5 stars.
Wow,
we
what
love
happened?
it. And so here's the boardwalk lit up at night. But if you go to the next review, this person loved it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess they had a nice
You
romantic
just
time.
have to go and experience it
Yeah.
for yourself, guys. But just take a look at these pictures. What is there not to love? And like I said, if you did not want to kind of look,
It's also a wedding venue. So there are 2 popular wedding venues. The Grand Floridian is first at Disney, and then this is second. You will see weddings there. They got a great wedding pavilion.
Yeah. And so like I was saying, if you didn't want to possibly deal with the hassle of the crowds at Epcot on a particular night, or you really did want to see the fireworks over at Magic Kingdom, but again, you felt it was going to be too crowded, your family just wanted to have some time to kind of sit back and relax, sitting on the boardwalk on one of their comfy benches, and there it is right there. You can see the fireworks right over at Epcot.
Beautiful.
Well, that's it, guys. As always, we hope that you have found this video to be very informative. We hope that you found some things to do outside of the theme parks. And so until next time, guys, don't forget to make every day magical. Bye, guys.